In this episode, Dazzle talks about how is motivation linked to inspiration, and is motivation even a thing? He finds that taking the next steps provides the motivation in any moment.
I started to connect the dots with an insight I had a few years ago on running. And the insight was, like, I just didn't feel motivated. And for my whole life, I've struggled with motivation to do something. You know, you're either motivated to do it or you're not. And I beat myself up massively when I wasn't motivated to do something. And running taught me that sometimes I don't want to go for a run. Sometimes I just don't want to put my trainers on and I don't want to get out the door. But at that point in my life, I was running quite frequent 10Ks, maybe 2 10Ks a week. And I would get to, I learned to ignore the motivation side of things. And I would just put my trainers on and I would just go out for my run, and on whatever day it was planned for. And within the first or second kilometer of a 10K run, so very, very early on in the run, the first 10 minutes of the run, I was in love with it. And I was so happy that I was out. And after the run, I was absolutely blown up with positivity. And of course, it was great to go out for a run and whatever. But that can be very disguised as the grind that you were just talking about. So one thing that I certainly I can see the difference with me, especially the difference between feeling like a grind and feeling like I'm unmotivated to do something. If something feels like it's going to be tough for me to do because I can't really be bothered to do it, that's not my intuition kicking in to say this shouldn't be something you should be doing. That's my lack of motivation, or my energy is a little bit lower. And if I want to do it, if I can see myself still running in the future, like, oh, should I give running up? Yeah, of course, give running up. If that question comes up, you don't want to run anymore, give it up. But if you go, oh, I can't really be bothered today, yeah, okay, maybe push it till tomorrow or do whatever you do, but get out and do it still. That's what I've learned from that. Whereas the other things, like projects that feel like, I actually felt, you feel dread for things coming up, like, oh no, I've got to do another one of these, or the work that goes into it, or whatever it is. I'm trying to find the terminology that where I find that separation, but there is a separation of a lack of motivation, and when your intuition kicks in, there is a separation there. Yeah, you're nodding because I think you know as well.
I do. And I think that I would always say, don't wait for motivation.
Brilliant.
Motivation comes from doing it, not beforehand. So we get that mixed up, don't we? We think that we should be motivated where actually, because we've talked about running as well. And for me, if I'm not thinking and I'm just getting up and putting my trainers on and getting out the door, I don't even wait for I'm not motivated. I'm just not thinking, and I'm doing what I've committed to do, and I'm doing it because long term I want to do it. On an individual basis, of course, I think, oh, the weather, or whatever. So if I wait for motivation, I'll often wait forever. Whereas I really feel that, and running is a good example, that the motivation comes from the actual act of just doing it, of taking that step. I'm a person who loves different projects. And I was talking to somebody earlier today, and she's very much like me. And she said, it's almost like you could never do all the projects you wanted to do in one lifetime. So there's 4 different Jacquelines in 4 different lives. And it's like, which life does this Jacqueline want? And some other alternative life, like I wanted to learn magic, for instance. And there's a Jacqueline in her alternative life right now learning magic. But you don't have to do it in this life. And I really liked that sort of analogy, because it felt like it's not that I need to wait for the motivation to learn magic and or look for how does that fit in with my diary or something, because the things that I want to do, I just do them without even thinking about how I feel motivated or not. They just get done. I just take those next steps. And the things that actually seem like really good ideas, but aren't sort of meant to happen, they're just like nice ideas and nice thoughts, that alternative Jacqueline is doing, that alternative Mama J in her other life, she's probably called something else as well. Any of that stuff, motivation, inspiration, is an idea of what the feeling should look like to get something, to do something. It's not a rule. Whereas just not worrying about that and just doing what seems obvious and next is just makes your life happen a bit more easily.